Demerara from 9 hours to 1400 hours. Residents are encouraged to come with their questions or queries regarding GPL bill or any other GPL related matters, as GPL's competent staff will be on site to assist customers at the point of their need. Hashtag GPL is on the move. For more information, call GPL's call center on 226-2600 or contact GPL's Public Relations Unit on 225-1471.
No. Emergency maintenance from March 11, 2021. Customers from Herstal to Craig East Bank Demerara will experience a service interruption due to an emergency maintenance activity from 10 to 12 hours. GPL apologizes for any inconvenience caused and thanks customers for their patience.
Hello, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. These are the top stories we're tracking. PPPC government releases report on fifth oil lift with vastly reduced information. Customs officers and major oil importers resisted measures to reduce abuse of tax exemption letters, says GRA boss. Chaplain dismissed after prayer for troubled police force. And tug and barge owner pays off debt for damaging Harbour Bridge. Do stay tuned.
Digicel Prime Bundles just got better with 3 new apps. Watch more with PlayGo. Share more with Sportsmax. Read more news with Loop. Listen more with D-Music. Plus extra data. It's simply more bundled together. 51 gigabytes for 7 days for only $2,000. Live the experience with Digicel. Activate today on the My Digicel app.
Now for the news in detail. The Ministry of Natural Resources sent out a release yesterday announcing receipt of payment for Guyana's fifth oil lift from the production at the Exxon-operated Liza Phase 1 project, though immediately noticeable that the report contains a vastly reduced account of information on oil production and revenues when compared to a report from the Ministry of Finance under the previous administration. This report comes after a month of advocacy for Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo to keep his commitment made during a February 9th press conference to release reports on Guyana's production. The Ministry of Natural Resources said that it recommits the transparency and accountability within the petroleum sector. And now let's tell you, after its initial investigations found that the nation's major oil importers, Sol Guyana Inc., Rubis, and Guy Oil, were abusing tax exemption letters, GRA sought to implement measures that would bring an end to this dreadful state of affairs. But instead of cooperating to ensure greater transparency and accountability, GRA saw great resistance from not only the oil importers, but even its customs officers as well. This was detailed in a letter from GRA's Commissioner General Godfrey Stacia to President Dr. Irfan Ali, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal, and Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh. And moving on, the Guyana Police Force yesterday dismissed Reverend Patrick Dulichan, of Success, East Coast Demerara. After the dismissal, in a letter seen by this publication, it was noted that Dulichand is being investigated for alleged financial crimes. Also referenced, referenced in the letter signed by Superintendent Calvin Brutus, Dilichan's prayer at the opening ceremony of the annual officers' conference last Thursday was also a major bone of contention. The letter noted that Dilichan's conduct precipitated His Excellency, the President, Ministers of Government, and the distinguished guests in attendance of the ceremony to express utter disgust at such repugnant, fallacious, and inappropriate utterances at the dignified and professional activity. It further stated that Dilichan's prayer wrongfully and deliberately portrayed the force's image negatively. And on that note, let's tell you the Demerara Harbour Bridge Corporation yesterday announced that it has received the final tranche of outstanding payments to be made by the owner of the tug and barge that slammed into the bridge last December 9th. The company highlighted that the owner of Rediston and Surtrans, D. Sukram, is no longer indebted. The barge slammed into the harbour bridge, causing it to shift out of alignment, and as a result, only small vehicles and minibuses were allowed to cross until the necessary repairs were complete. It is now 12 hours 5 in Ghana. Coming up after the break, government slaps leg one Stelling contractor with over $400 million lawsuit. Case dismissed against ex-detective accused of accepting bribe, and former Lands and Survey Commission Trevor Benn arrested over lands probe. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. The state, through the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlal, has slapped the contractor working on the Leg 1 Stelling, Esmeralda Contracting Services, with a lawsuit seeking to recover over $400 million of taxpayer dollars. This move comes just weeks after the contract was scrapped and over 2 years of project delays. According to the court documents, the state is seeking, among others, to recover general damages in excess of $100 million for the breach of the contract dated September 18, 2018, for the $1.3 million in liquidated damages, along with another $41.3 million under the performance bond agreement. Now let's tell you, after nearly 8 months of going back and forth in the court, ex-CID rank Richard Prasad said that he has been vindicated despite losing his job. Prasad was hauled before the magistrate's court in Berbice and charged with corrupt transaction by an agent on July last. His accusers claimed that he had accepted bribes from them in the sum of $60,000 each to assist them in a court matter. The magistrate then asked the prosecutor if there were any other witnesses or if there was additional evidence, and the prosecutor responded in the negative. Magistrate Singh then dismissed the case. And moving on, ex-commissioner of the Ghana Lands and Survey Commission, or GNL and SC, Trevor Benn, was yesterday taken into police custody for the alleged illegal leasing of 6 acres of state lands located at Ogle. The lands, according to sources, belonged to NISIL, but were leased illegally by GL and SC and a company called Janico Vide Engineering Limited. It is understood that Ben was the commissioner at the time when the transaction was made. He is currently held at the police force's CID headquarters at Evelary and will remain there as investigations continue today. And moving on, the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation has launched an investigation into the death of 4-year-old Aklima Mohammed, who passed away at the hospital last Sunday. The hospital's communication manager, Ms. Shalana Providence, said yesterday that a thorough investigation into the child's death will be done. She was, however, unable to offer any other comment on the incident. It is understood that the post-mortem was conducted on the child's remains, but the cause of death is yet to be related to the grieving parents. And on that note, we now head over to the COVID-19 update. According to Worldometer, the number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 118.7 million, with deaths at 2.6 million and recoveries at 94.3 million. The Ministry of Health yesterday reported the death of a 59-year-old man from Region 4 as the country's latest COVID-19 fatality. His death brings the national death toll from the virus to 205. 81 new infections were recorded yesterday, increasing the case toll to 8,928. 8 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, another 8 in institutional quarantine, 32 in institutional isolation, and 472 in home isolation. Additionally, a total of 8,211 persons have recovered to date, with 11 new recoveries recorded yesterday. And coming from CNN, with every COVID-19 vaccination, the U.S. inches closer to defeating the pandemic that has killed over 500,000 Americans and left countless more with long-term complications. Highly contagious variants will soon have a ridiculously easy chance to spread rapidly across the U.S. Spring break starts from hundreds of universities this month, and a typical spring break revelry could lead to countless more Americans getting infected as coronavirus variants threaten to outpace vaccinations. And at this time, we now head over to the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News that is dedicated to being blunt. Former President David Granger's administration was not very forthcoming with its public disclosures on oil. It set a low bar for transparency in the oil sector, with few exceptions. It also displayed immense incompetence in its management of oil companies and its negotiation of oil deals. Because of this, the administration of President Irfan Ali seems to be operating under the impression that transparency advocates will give it a break. If so, we urge President Ali that his government not to labor under this and other delusions about people letting them down easy. We demand steady, accurate, detailed, and reliable information about the production of our oil and the management of our revenues. We should not have to beg. And with that, we've come to the end of today's Kaieteur Radio's main newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today.